If that had just ended like 20 minutes earlier, it would have been okay.
Well, that was a movie.
Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my first thoughts on Old, the new M. Night Shyamalan film. Yeah, as you saw from that intro, M. Night Shyamalan is up to his old tricks. Everything that you've come to expect from an M. Night Shyamalan movie holds true for this. There's a good idea, really bad dialogue and character development, just bad writing in general. Aside from like the overall story idea, this is a good idea. Granted, this was based on a graphic novel. I haven't read it. I don't know how accurate it is to it. I don't know how faithful it is. I don't know anything about it, but the story idea is okay. The writing, though, like I said, the dialogue is atrocious. The character development is awful, and even when it seems like it's going okay, it gets ruined by a dumb twist at the end. He can't seem to leave those alone. He seems like he just has to keep doing that. I don't know, once again, like I said, I don't know anything about the graphic novel, so I don't know if there was a plot twist in the graphic novel or if he added that. I don't know anything about that. You've got a crap car, dude. Get over it. But anyway, I'm gonna avoid spoilers for now. I'll give a basic overall view on it, and then I'll get into spoilers later if you don't mind it being spoiled. So, in case you don't know the plot of this film, it follows a group of people who all end up on a beach at some resort. It's an exclusive beach that just they know about because they were let in on a little secret, but then things start going wrong. Everybody seems to be getting old rapidly, especially the kids, but as it goes on, you see that everybody's aging. It's just more noticeable in the kids. So if you've got a health defect, if you've got any sort of health concerns, these things are rapid. If you get cut, it heals up really quick, so that's a benefit, but for the most part, it's all bad things. But long story short, this group seems to be stuck on the beach due to some mysterious forces keeping them there. Every time they try to walk off the beach, they get a massive headache, blackout, and then they end up back on the beach. If you try to swim, same thing. So these people can't get out, but they are quickly dying, so they need to find a solution fast. So I've already gone into a little bit of it. The dialogue is bad, laughably bad at times. There's this character that they meet there, a rapper, by the way, named, wait for it, Mid-Sized Sedan. I think it has to be intentionally funny. This has to be a parody of how, like, all rappers nowadays seem to have a Lil in their name. Lil Yachty, Lil Wayne, whatever. They're all basically copying Lil Wayne and that group of people before. But Mid-Sized Sedan. This was another time, thankfully, that the theater was packed. I'm getting used to this again, that the theater is just being packed, and it's a great experience because you get to have a whole crowd reacting with you to stuff. I was dying laughing at that and nobody else was, and I was like, how is nobody else reacting? I snort laughed at it, which I don't do that often. It was such like a spit take. Like, if I had been drinking anything, it would have been spewed out all over me. I was like, anyway, this character, it basically looks kind of like Nelly. At first I thought it was him, but then I was like, oh, it's too young. But I guess he's just some random actor. I looked him up, didn't recognize him. But his whole character is just like, he's supposed to be this cool rapper character or whatever, but every time anything happens, he's just like, damn. Damn. That level of acting too. He wasn't a good actor, and the writing is across the board bad. I think in all M. Night Shyamalan movies, the dialogue has always been bad. In all of them, since the beginning, it just depends on how good the actors are and how well they can just make that bad dialogue seem natural in some way. When you've got bad actors like Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel, it's just noticeably awful. When you've got good actors, like in this movie, there was actually a ridiculously good cast here. Some of it was okay. Not all of it, but some of it was manageable. I actually didn't mention the cast at all yet, so I should read this off. So it's starring Gael Garcia Bernal, Vicky Krieps, or Creeps, I'm not sure, Rufus Sewell, Alex Wolff, Thomasin McKenzie, and Abby Lee. So this whole cast was great, especially Rufus Sewell. I've mentioned before, I think the last time I saw him and talked about him was in The Father. I think he's a fascinating actor. I think he's always good. I don't see him in that many things, but whenever I see him, he's always good, and he was really good in this. There was a lot of dialogue that he had to make good. He had to make it good on his own. He had to bring the performance to that awful dialogue, and he was able to redeem most of it. Not all of it, but he was a standout as being really good. Gael Garcia Bernal was also really good. Not quite as good, nothing against him. There's a lot of hard things in M. Night Shyamalan to make look natural and good because the dialogue just does everything to stop you from doing that, and I thought he did okay. I was also excited to see Thomasin McKenzie in this because I hadn't seen her in anything since Jojo Rabbit, which was my first time seeing her in anything, and I thought, oh, she's a really promising up-and-coming actress. She was really good in that, and I'm excited to see what she does next. Unfortunately, I don't know that she was utilized right in this. This movie was awkward in a few different ways, and one of the reasons it was awkward was the aging of the kids, because they start out as like an 8 and a 6-year-old or something like that, and then blow up into teens and then adults. And Thomasin McKenzie is this 10-year-old who's now in an adult body. And they do some weird things where, like I said, I think she's a promising actress. I don't want to say she's great or anything yet. I don't know. Like I said, all I've seen her in is this and Jojo Rabbit, but she seems to have talent. In this movie, it seemed to be like, hey, let's just have her walk around in a bikini for most of the runtime. And it's like, okay, cool, but awkward. Like, I don't know. It was just a little bit disappointing because I would have liked to have seen her do more with the role, but overall, I thought she did a good job. I thought that main group cast did pretty good, given the circumstances. And then everybody else that did bad, it's hard to judge them because of what they were dealing with. Like I said, that rapper character, he was awful, but how much of that was just the writing? I mean, I don't know many actors that could have made that character seem authentic and real and interesting. So, like I said in that intro, I just wish this movie had quit when it was ahead, because it had some interesting ideas in it that I enjoyed. It seemed like it was going in one direction and then abruptly made a 90-degree turn and went somewhere else right at the end, which is, you know, a staple of M. Night Shyamalan. And I think it's to his detriment, because a lot of times he's got a good idea and then he just wastes it. And it's not like the secondary idea is bad. I thought the second idea that we ended up getting in the plot twist wasn't a bad idea. It just wasn't as good as where it seemed like it was going initially. So it's disappointing. If I had known that it was going in that direction the whole time, okay, but it made it seem like it was going somewhere more interesting. Like, there's little clues and things here and there that seem like they're adding up to something and then they're not. Overall, the movie was, to me, I gotta give it like a 5, maybe a 5.5. I enjoyed some parts of it. The idea was good, but it was just wasted potential. If it had ended when I thought it was going to, with the message that I thought it was saying, I would have given it a 6.5, like a sturdy 6.5. But no, it just kept going and progressively got worse with every progressive minute. And it's actually funny because, like, I knew this was gonna happen. Like, this is what happens with most M. Night Shyamalan movies, is that he's got a stupid twist that ruins everything. And it's funny because I was actually texting my friend walking into the theater. I texted him, I'm seeing Old tonight by M. Night Shyamalan. Can't wait to see how he ruins it this time, because, yeah, he always has a good premise. He's always got a good idea and then manages to ruin it. He really should have just a second writer, like a screenwriter, work with him and fix it for him. One, the dialogue. Just fix the dialogue, because if the dialogue in this movie and the characters were realistic at all, it already would have taken this movie out of a 5 to a 6, even with the crappy ending. If then that writer could also somehow maybe convince him to not make a crappy ending out of a good story, then you could get it up to a 7 even. We could get good movies out of M. Night Shyamalan, but nope. Here we are. That's what I did think, spoiler free. I'm gonna get into spoilers now. So if you don't want anything spoiled, you should go watch it first, come back and we can talk about it then. But please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you're new here. Thanks guys, bye. So, spoilers. At the beginning of the movie, the little boy character is going around. He's, I guess, a highly intelligent kid because he talks like an adult. But then again, maybe that's bad writing. At least they're self-aware of it because people are reacting to it. But anyway, he's going around asking everybody their name and occupation. And it's like, oh, interesting. This is going to come back later. And then when they're on the beach, they end up finding a book that's got a bunch of names and occupations and addresses. Everybody that's been on the beach supposedly has been written and documented in there. And you're like, oh, maybe this is a time loop. Maybe it's not that you get older until you die. Maybe it somehow gets reversed back in time and you don't remember it or whatever. It's some sort of time loop. No, that's not it. It seemed like it was hinting at something and then it wasn't, and I don't know what the point was. Maybe that book was supposed to be connected to what actually did happen. I guess I could see that, but it seemed like it was setting up something and then it wasn't. So basically what happens is they explain that the reason they're all aging fast is because some science mumbo jumbo. There's these rocks on the beach that make you age because they do things with your cells that make them age at an accelerated rate, grow at an accelerated rate or whatever, and so people die fast or heal fast or whatever. And then at one point actually somebody says, so why doesn't our hair grow then? And like, well, because it's dead cells. It's like, yeah, but you know, the living cells create the hair and push it out. That's what makes it grow. It's not dead the whole time. So your hair should be growing. But anyway, technicality. So how they end up getting out is they have to swim through some coral because the coral is what makes them not have the reaction to the rocks, but they can't leave the rocks normally because it's, as they say, it's like surfacing out of water too quickly. It's just the pressure will get to you. It's just a bunch of just mumbo jumbo that means nothing. Like I said, it's based on a graphic novel, so he didn't come up with it, I don't think, or maybe he did. Either way, whoever came up with it, I'm mad at you because it was dumb. I didn't need this movie to try to explain so hard what was going on. Having the people search for an explanation, sure, that could have been a big point of this movie, but you didn't actually have to give an explanation. What I actually thought was going to happen in this movie was that at a certain point they were going to stop looking for a meaning and just enjoy what time they had left, because that's what it hinted at. Once you get down to the last four of the family, where it's the mom, dad, and then the two kids, the mom and the dad both end up dying of old age, and then you've got the two kids. They've got like 13 more hours to try to figure out how to get off the beach before they die. They're like, oh, we should get to it, and then they say, do you want to build a sandcastle first? And they're like, yeah, sure. And so they build a sandcastle, and I thought in that moment that M. Night Shyamalan was making a philosophical point, that we're all a ticking time bomb. Every one of us, we're all dying slowly. We're not all going to die in a 24-hour span like on the beach, but we're all dying due to time. No matter what we do, we can't figure out how to make it stop, so you might as well just enjoy the time that you have, no matter how long or short it is, just enjoy it. And I was like, you know what? I can forgive this movie for its flaws. It's not a great movie, but I enjoyed it. I'll throw it on the back end of my top 10 movies of 2021 list as of right now, and we'll be good. But then the movie kept going, because that wasn't the end, and that wasn't the message, I guess, because then they actually figure out how to get off the beach, and you're like, oh, well, that's disappointing. I guess we didn't want to sit and think about this philosophical point for very long. And then you find out that the people that have been watching them the whole time are scientists. They've discovered this part of the world that affects people in this way, and what they've decided to do is take advantage of it by taking people that have illnesses, whether mental or physical, putting them on the beach, but also giving them a test medication. Point being to use them as guinea pigs, essentially, so that they can see if their medication, their test medicine, works. And instead of having to wait for full test trials over years, they just have to wait 24 hours to see how well it goes, and they can document it very quickly and effectively. And so you're like, oh, well, I guess that's an interesting idea too. Not where I thought this was going, but that's an interesting idea. Now the movie's gonna end? Nope, because then the people get off the beach without the bad guys. Bad guys? They seem to be doing something decently good, but also bad at the same time. I don't know. They're people doing things. The good guys get off, and then they go find a cop, because at the beginning, when the little kid was going around asking everybody, what's your name and occupation, he found a cop. So I guess that's what ties it together and makes that make sense. I guess that was the point of him asking everybody. That's a lame point. That's a lame reason to have it. So they find the cop, and they show him the book of the names and everything, and that's enough proof to get everybody on the island arrested, apparently. Okay, that seems really dumb. to me. That is really dumb. It doesn't seem dumb. It is dumb. This movie really killed itself in the last few minutes. Like, if this had been 15, 20 minutes shorter, it would have been a pretty good movie, but instead it ended up being mediocre at best. And that's really disappointing because it's another good idea Shyamalan had wasted on just a bad script and bad execution, which is a shame because he's not a bad director. There's good shots, there's good composition. I like how he tells a story aside from the writing part, if that makes sense. What I mean is, he's good at showing what he's saying, but what he's saying is usually stupid. Especially when it's yet another character from Philadelphia going, "Hi, I'm from Philadelphia. Have I mentioned I'm from Philadelphia? I'm from Philadelphia." Like, I get it. I love it here. I love it. Hometown pride, but like, shut up. Nobody does that. So, with Rufus Sewell, like I was talking about, he had some awkward dialogue to get through, but it was actually really well done. So his character ends up actually having Alzheimer's or dementia or something, so he's forgetting everything, and he's a doctor, and you first see this Alzheimer's dementia start taking place because somebody else has a tumor that they want to cut out, and so they're asking him to cut it out because, like I said, he's a doctor. And so he goes to do it, and he goes, "Has anybody seen that movie with Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando? Does anybody know the name of that? I can't remember the name of that." And they're just like, "What are you talking about?" And it's just like really off-putting and kind of confusing, but it keeps coming back because he's got this obsession with this movie that he wants to figure out the name of. And so at one point, I forget if it's like right after the one girl gets pregnant or something, but he's like, "Can we just focus on the problem at hand? What is this movie? Does anybody know about movies?" I love that. But then, of course, it does end up becoming a much more serious problem as he starts to forget who people are. He starts becoming distrusting of people and actually kills people because he's got a knife and because he's angry and confused and, you know, scared. And I thought that that character arc was handled very well by Rufus Sewell. I don't want to say that it was extremely well written because, like I said, that's some awkward dialogue to get through. That's some awkward stuff to handle, but I thought he handled it really well. And I think with every character arc, how well or not they were portrayed was what determined whether or not they were good, because the writing was bad across the board. But some actors were able to make it work to their advantage and make it out okay. There was just weird stuff, though, in this movie that, you know, Shyamalan likes to do. This isn't really a horror movie as much as it is a thriller. It's kind of a horrifying idea, you know, getting old and all that, but it's not really horrific other than a couple of weird moments. And Shyamalan really wanted to make it, I think, feel more like a horror by throwing in horrific moments that didn't really fit. So there's this one other woman there who I guess is like a gold digger or whatever, but her character arc is just her getting older and falling apart because she's got a calcium deficiency and her bones are brittle and she's got a hump in her back by the end of it and all of that. But anyway, she's self-conscious, so she goes and hides in a cave, and then the kids find her, but then when they light a match, she freaks out because she doesn't want to be seen, so she starts throwing rocks at them and then chasing after them, but then her arm breaks because, like I said, calcium deficiency makes her bones really weak. And so then as she's chasing after them, they crawl down into this little part of the cave, and she's like flailing and she hits her arm and it breaks, and then she hits another arm. But because like time is passing so quickly for them, or their cells are changing, they're regenerating, whatever they're doing so quickly, they heal really fast. So every time she breaks a bone, it then heals like immediately in whatever position it was when it broke. And so she just keeps flailing and hitting more and more until she's like crumpled up in like a weird like ball, kind of like Pennywise in It. And it's just like, what is this? This isn't horrifying. This is, well, disgusting if it was real, but two, like, I just feel bad for the lady. She's not like some Pennywise the clown. She's just a person that's scared of being ugly. So it's like, why did you put that scene in there? There's some awkward stuff too, like I said, with the girls getting older, and just like the first thing they do when Thomason comes in to play the girl is they have the little 10-year-old girl or whatever, maybe she's 11 or 12, I don't know, and then all of a sudden she's being portrayed by Thomason, who's, I'm not sure how old she is. She's got to be legal or they wouldn't have portrayed her this way, I would hope. Yeah, she's 21. So you jump from the 10-year-old or whatever to a 21-year-old in the same bathing suit, and you just got a big, like, focus up on her butt barely fitting in this bathing suit, and you're like, okay. Eventually she changes bathing suits, but still, like, she's just got her boobs out the whole time, and I'm like, okay, I get it, they're in a bathing suit, sure, that's believable enough. But, like, can we not focus on it so much? And then there's this big rapper guy that I mentioned, that he's there and just go, damn. Once she's Thomason, he starts, like, hitting on her and being around her and wanting to go on a walk with her and touch her on the shoulder and stuff. I get it, she's, like, legal now, but she's got the mind of a 10-year-old. Like, what is wrong with you? Back away. We didn't need that relationship dynamic because we already had the two youngest, not the brother and sister, but there's another girl there too. The brother and then the other girl are about the same age, and then they grow up and go through puberty and have weird feelings happen all at the same time together. So we had them go through that character arc already. We didn't need any other relational dynamic, so just having the hints of it there was awkward, and I'm glad they didn't go in depth with it, but just the fact that they hinted at it was awkward, because it's like the two other kids are mentally still children, but they both are, at least. So they didn't know what they were doing for the most part. They thought that they were playing a game or whatever. They didn't really know. They were just following nature. With the other, it's like, that's a grown-ass dude, grown-ass man, and a mentally 10-year-old child. And I'm like, why did we even think to hint at this was okay? That was really awkward. Just weird stuff in this movie. Some weird things. I don't know. I did enjoy some of the ideas, like the whole concept of getting old so quickly and how would you react to that and how desperate would you get. It's a really interesting concept on paper, and they do some good things with it. Like the fact of having two people that are like 6 years old mentally, then going through puberty and then having a kid and then going through pregnancy at such an accelerated rate that you literally have a baby in a matter of minutes, and then the baby dies because they look away from 1 minute and it dies that quickly. Like, that's an interesting concept to talk about. And then I wish that they had really focused more on what I thought they were doing with it, like I said, with like the whole sandcastle thing and just enjoying life and doing something with it, because you don't know how much time you have. That was interesting, and I wish that they had just done more of these interesting ideas and less of the stupid mumbo jumbo, and then the scientist bad guy angle was just a waste of time to me. Get it? Waste of time? What time do we have? So anyway, yeah, that's what I thought. Could have been a lot better than it was. Could have been a lot worse. Far from M. Night Shyamalan's worst movie. I've definitely seen a lot worse, but it just... another waste of a good story by Shyamalan, which is... unfortunately par for the course at this point. So that's what I had to think. What do you guys think, though? Let me know in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Thanks guys, bye.